So we're seeing the debut of Rox in this chapter because we're picking up from the end of the previous one where Rox and his crew has made their way to Elbaf and they're encountering Loki. Rox wants to see King Harold, so he injures Loki as a way to lure Harold back to Elbaf because he's not there at that moment in time. And in this chapter we find out why Rox is so interested in Harold, and it's because he essentially has a bromance with him because they actually met at the Revery 8 years prior to the current time in the flashback we're in. And then we kind of just cut to the Revery at this point, and we see that Rox, the mad lad that he is, made his way through the Revery, through Marijois, through the Pangea Castle, kidnapped 5 kings, and then got to the Room of Flowers where Emu is, and he's just chilling there. And he has a pistol too. But the thing is that somehow he's made it there, and it's said that it is the first and last of its kind, that in the history of Emu ruling, the world, this is the only time that someone has made it to the Room of Flowers. And then since then, no one else has done it. So Rox is the only person to ever be able to do this, which is GOAT status for sure. And he's just so nonchalant about it. He's just sitting down, talking to Emu. And Emu's nonchalant too, saying that kidnapping those 5 kings, that's not enough to extort me. But Rox says that he's a Davy Jonesian pirate. Now, I talked about this before, but I'll just put it out there real quick for anyone who didn't hear what I had to say about this. But it's very possible that Davy Jones was a person that actually existed in the One Piece world, maybe going back 3,000 years ago. It could be the counterpart to Sun God Nika. The way that there's Luffy and Blackbeard and Rox and Roger, there could be that with Davy Jones and Nika possibly. And I only say that because we're seeing the influence of generations on the future generations and how it's kind of linear to the hero and the anti-hero or anti-villain. Especially with Loki saying how he's influenced by Rox, and now Rox essentially saying that he himself is influenced by this Davy Jones individual. But at the end of this sequence it says that Rox knew that there was nothing more he could do in that moment. So he withdrew, and with these words he said, "Just wait, one day I'll be back." So that's fascinating. He knew that there was nothing more he could do in that moment, meaning he knew he couldn't defeat Emu. Rox is super powerful and he's probably got a crazy ego, but he's not stupid. He knows Emu's the one above all, essentially. He could probably sense their hockey. I mean, we saw when Emu inhabited Gunko and Elbaf, how everyone reacted to just that. So being in Emu's presence, you must realize that okay, this is God tier power. So he's just wait, one day I'll be back. Now, yeah, I guess he doesn't return because, we're going to find out because it seems like we're going through Rox's life as much as we're going through Loki's in this flashback. But if he doesn't return, it could be that either Blackbeard, his son, returns, carrying his will, or Buggy, his possible other son, carrying his will. And we'll get into that because you already saw the thumbnail of this video. We're going to be talking about that. But after Rox leaves, he runs into Harold. Harold's at the Reverie too. He's on fire running. And they're just converging on each other at this point. And they have this huge clash. Implied to be Conqueror's Hockey. It looks like it is. I'm pretty sure it is. And the impact that it's making is pretty much what Conqueror Hockey Clash does. Confirming that, Rox has Conqueror's Hockey, and so does Harold. So I guess Loki has Conqueror's Hockey too. Was that already confirmed? I'm not sure if it was, but I'm pretty sure Loki has it. And I also think it hasn't been confirmed that Blackbeard has Conqueror's Hockey, but I guess he kind of has to have it too if Rox has it. Maybe even Buggy has it too. I don't know. But it says the clash between these two strangers blew everyone away within a 5-kilometer radius. So yeah, 2 incredibly powerful guys. Also, it says that Rox had killed a freaking admiral right before this. We found that out in the previous chapter that Rox took down an admiral. And that's what essentially made him infamous. Aside from breaking into the Room of Flowers and meeting Emu, but he took down a freaking admiral. So I guess at this point in time, Harold is pretty strong, obviously. He's definitely admiral level, I guess, because this is what made Rox really interested in Harold. This is what started the bromance for him. They had this clash, and Rox was like, whoa, you're powerful, dude. And then they kind of like exchange info on how to get to Elbaf. And yeah, that's what takes us back to the beginning of the chapter. That's why Rox is there, because he's coming back to try to convince Harold to join his crew. But we'll get to that because we're seeing Rox's bounty poster revealed here. Because, you know, like we talked about, he killed the freaking admiral. He kidnapped those 5 kings, broke into the Room of Flowers. So he's got a pretty juicy bounty here. We're not seeing what it is, but it's probably in the billions for sure. Now, the super fascinating thing about this bounty poster is that it looks exactly the same as Buggy's current bounty poster. That's right. See, the funny thing is that when we were talking about Buggy and Rox last week, we were just kind of going off of how his face looked. That's it. If you cut it in half, you know, one half looks like Blackbeard, one half looks like Buggy. Kind of. It could have meant that they are, you know, his children, or it's just Oda repeating character designs or something maybe. But no, there's something going on here for sure. You can't say there's not. This is not a coincidence. There's no way. I mean, look at it. It's the same thing. Come on. Now, either Buggy is straight up Rox's son, or Buggy is like carrying on the will of Rox, the same way that Blackbeard is, despite not being, you know, his blood. Or he's just straight up his son, and we've got like another Shanks Shamrock thing going on, except, you know, one of them is kind of like the runt of the litter, with Buggy not being a powerhouse at all, but Buggy makes up for it with like his charisma and luck. Like, you know, he kind of has like a supernatural luck ability, I guess you could say. He has like plot armor the way that Luffy does, despite not being the main character, which makes you incredibly powerful. You're essentially a reality manipulator at that point if you're a character that is not the main character in a series with plot armor. But also, you know, we talked about it before, Buggy is 39 years old. That kind of lines up with when Rox would have died, somewhere around that time, if he did die. We also talked about how like all the Yonkos right now have a significant lineage to them. You know, Blackbeard, Rox, Shanks with Garling and Shamrock, Luffy with Dragon and Garp. So now it's like, what's going on with Buggy? And why does Buggy have that nose? Why is he like a clown man? I mean, I guess it had to do with his mother, right? If Rox is his father. And also, why did Roger take Buggy under his wing? Because he had to have known that Shanks was Garling's son. So what's going on with Buggy? And also, if that is the case, then Buggy is a D. Which I suspected before. I suspected Buggy had to be a D or Celestial Dragon. So I guess he's a D now because, you know, like the Ds have like that ability to attract people or whatever Mihawk was talking about. And also, like I talked about before, maybe it's Buggy that meets Emu. He's the one that returns with the will of Rox. I mean, it's going to be Blackbeard, but maybe both. I don't know. After this, we see how, like, Rox rose to power more. Like, he sabotaged some Celestial Dragon ships, but also other pirate ships. He used the Davy Back fight to strengthen his crew, and that's what eventually gave him, like, the big powerhouse crew that he has that we've known about. And I guess he's just been trying to collect all these powerful people so that he can raid Mary Schwa and take it down. Because, you know, like we talked about in the last video, he's like the, you know, counterpart to Roger. He's the other side of the D coin. Roger, you know, went through the alternative route of trying to save the world, going on an adventure, finding the One Piece, you know, actually achieving it, but then not doing anything. Because, you know, he couldn't. They came at the wrong time or whatever. So he needed to wait for the Messiah to come and the stars to align. But Rox, on the other hand, is like, nah, I'm just raiding this place with the strongest dudes that I can find, and I'm just going to overthrow the government, and then I'm going to become the king. And then that's how he kind of saves the world in his own anti-villain way, which is essentially what Blackbeard is trying to do right now, I guess. Now, yeah, I mean, it's not great, but, I mean, maybe the world that Rox ruled over would probably be better than Emu's world, right? I mean, I guess there wouldn't be slavery anymore. Rox would definitely abolish that. But yeah, let me know what you think about this chapter in the comments, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.